Hello, welcome to another scene of San Francisco by Night, Hunter the Vigil. Um, Today we will find ourselves at Mr. Perun Baldrick's shop, Oddest Ends Trading House, where he's usually found. Um, at the moment, what is Mr. Perun doing?
He has a nice pot of tea that he's drinking as he's slow doing what he always does and is going through the books. Part of the biggest I should say one of the biggest parts about maintaining a shop like this is to make sure the books are always perfectly up to date.
Um, at some point, I will assume for story's sake, he will take a look at the outside cameras from his shop.
Sure thing.
And he will see there's someone somewhat familiar to him outside. Um, though it's strange, you can't really put your finger on it, but she seems a bit lost. Like she's not sure if she wants to uh, go in or not, and uncertain. So yeah, you might find that suspicious or whatever. That's how you want to deal with it is up to you. So I
Alright.
pass you the ball pretty much.
Alright. Parent's going to slowly drink take a sip of his tea, put down his pen, study this image for a second, then sigh, pick up the saucer for a new cup of tea. And put it on a saucer and walk to the door and just open the door and go, "Can I help you?"
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, I was just coming into. She will take the little tea box out of her pocket to return you the box. That was really good tea.
Oh, I have more if you would like a refill.
Give me a second. Give me a second, because there's some rollage that needs to happen here. Oh,
Is this subterfuge?
yes, and I don't have any. Uh,
Versus my wits plus empathy.
oh my god. Uh,
Pan will just raise his eyes. He can't really get a read. He'll raise his eyebrow and go, "I see," and take the tea box, and then stand out of the way of the door, just enough that if she wants to come in, she can. And he'll say, "Is that all?"
um, are you into doing refills?
If you would like more, I'll gladly provide more.
Yeah, that would be great, yeah.
Right? He'll gesture her in, and he'll say, "Would you like some tea while you wait?"
Sure, yeah. That would be, I guess, a good thing. Yeah,
And
sorry
he'll
for the inconvenience.
fill up another cup of tea and go, "It's no problem." Seems as I have something on your mind. Is there anything I can help with?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to determine.
We'll set down a nice little nice porcelain teacup in front of her. It's part of the matching set that he currently has on a saucer. And as he does so, he'll sit down across from her.
Yes,
Well,
he seems to be very nervous. Generally speaking, like not how you would see her being normally, because normally she's very like chill and generally happy. She looks a bit different than usual.
he'll take note of that, and he goes, "Well, is there anything you'd like to talk, or is there anything you'd like to ask? Anything you'd like to talk over? Even if I can't help, it always is good to have another ear to talk at."
Well, there are some things about the company that I have questions that I haven't been able to find answers to. You know those super soldier serums that they're injecting us with?
Yeah, strange
Yeah.
little things.
Well, I would be interested to do an independent test, but I only have one injector and I have entrusted it to someone else because something happened and I. Well, anyway, are you familiar with what it is, or were you given this thing too?
I do have the serum running through my blood, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, yeah, but would you be, would you have like maybe extra sample that we could test that you would be willing to part with?
Takes a sip of his tea
I know it
and puts it
sounds
down.
very weird and suspicious. I know, but I don't know. I only have one, and I don't know if I can risk losing it completely because I don't know what will happen if I need to take it.
You're asking me to procure an extra sample of the serum, risk my reputation with the company, as well as potentially losing my own source of the serum
Yeah, but
for
we
a
need to
test.
know what it is. Aren't you curious to know what's in this thing?
Yes, but curiosity often leads to more trouble than is sometimes worth. I'm willing to do this, but I have to ask, who are you planning on giving this serum to?
That is yet to be decided. I mean, I know one of our people is a doctor and he could test it. Also, Mr. Ellison has labs in his company, but he wouldn't trust any of his people with it. And then, I guess Valentine's fiance also has equipment, but I don't know him enough to trust him, so I really don't know yet. Like, I have not determined who would be the best person to do this, or if we should all be there
So you're asking me to hand you over a sample to be tested by a yet to be determined third party.
Well, no, you don't need to hand anything over. Just testing the waters if you would be willing to when we have determined if we can, first of all, and who will be able to do that, mainly.
I am open to the idea. If you can get me, if I meet the scientist whoever you choose beforehand, and I deem them myself trustworthy. I am not handing over a product to someone I barely know. Well, not a product that I'm personally not in charge of selling.
I mean, that's fair. I have no issue with that demand. It's more than reasonable.
Second, there may be a slight problem. I remember overhearing one of the scientists, or I remember overhearing someone connected with Section 8, or Section 9, or whatever the company's called, that mentioned that the serum is not viable after a certain period of time. This is why we have to go there for our injections, after all.
Well, I have the injector and I haven't used it yet. They didn't really tell me anything about that.
Interesting.
And by I have, I don't mean I have it because I don't. But I mean, I possess it, just not me personally.
Well, I'm going to have to introduce you to one of my own compatriots. There's a man within my... takes a pause for a sec, then goes, guess you would call them cells. According to Mr. X, he is also on the drug program. Yet he himself...
With all due respect, I do not trust a word that Mr. X says.
gives a small shrug. He seems to be able to... Either way, he has demonstrated the ability to be able to sense anyone who is on this program with us. He says he can smell it.
That's one thing, but is this person also a member of the company?
He was recruited about the same time as we were.
Do I know them?
Perhaps you've seen them before. It's the... he goes by Havoc. You would recognize this individual. He tends to wear a helmet.
Yes, I did see him the other day. We didn't really talk much. He was just being weird.
Yes, he seems to be a bit of a social introvert.
I was more thinking a bit unhinged, but sure.
That too. But then again, I'm coming to a conclusion. Anyone who accepted Section 9's proposal is a bit unhinged.
Well, I can't really argue either way on that, although I would like to consider myself as not unhinged, but anyway. However, is he trustworthy?
as trustworthy as you or me, I believe.
Well, I don't really know. I just know that I definitely don't trust anyone in there. Even more so the more time I pass around them. It's just. I don't know, something. Are we sure that we're with the good guys and not the bad guys?
S- Parent's going to take a long moment. He's going to take a sip of tea, then steeple his fingers, as he seems to think over what you said, where he slowly says, Miss Fletcher, in my extensive time on this planet, or brief moments in some considerations, I have taken the attempt to learn all I can. While I wouldn't call myself wise, I'm wise enough to know that I am not wise. But let me give you this little piece of information. In everybody's own story, they are the good guys. The idea of a bad guy is a social perspective. No one's really the bad guy in their own story. Whether we should be considering them bad guys or good guys, I cannot say for sure. But so far, at least from my perspective, Section 9 has not made any overt acts against us.
I have
They are
two
sketchy as fuck.
questions for you. The first one you might not know, but I have to ask anyway. Do you know if they have any connections to Modoc?
I believe there is something. I'm not 100% sure, but ever since becoming associated with them, I've heard that name repeated over and over again.
When you say that, you see her kind of sinking a little bit, like actually do an empathy roll, see how much you can actually see, just to keep this interesting.
2 successes.
Okay, good enough, because I don't think she would be able to hide it well anyway. Like she seems for a split second you can detect like terror in her eyes, I would say. Yeah, terror would be a good explanation, and she seems worried uh, and even like a bit of relief, like maybe she's not crazy. uh, so yeah, that's what you get when you reply, when you answer.
I should clarify something real quick.
Yeah.
I am not sure if they are directly connected with MODOK, if they work for MODOK, or it's just circumstance. But ever since I was approached by them, both in my professional and in my personal life, the reference of MODOK has risen substantially.
Yes, I can confirm that. Do you have family, Mr. Voltrick?
No.
I do, and I think they're going after them.
Ray, um, he'll not actually say anything at that, but he'll go just nod slowly. Why do you get that impression?
Well, at the moment, it's suspicion and circumstantial things, but I cannot ignore them. Um, and I'm not the only one who has these suspicions.
I see. Well, if they are truly going after your family, are we referring to Section 9 or MODOK?
I don't know. They could be the same thing. I know that my family were relocated to a house that was bought by MODOK because they created earthquakes in the area, and they had to move them, not just them, also Ruben's parents. And
Does certainly seem suspicious.
Valentine's fiance was hired by MODOK around the same time that she was approached.
Interesting. Steeples his fingers as if he's thinking over something.
Have you met Mrs. X?
I'm trying to decide if she's introduced herself yet as Mr. X, Mrs. X. Out of character. I'm trying to recall. He's. I don't think he's ever actually met Mrs. X in official capacity, so he'll slowly shake his head and go, "No, I believe not. I believe I've only met Mr. X."
Well, she will give you a basic description of what she looks like.
Oh. Does she have a little birthmark on the back right at the nape of the backside of her, or right in the curve of her back? And he gestures to somewhere that obviously someone would not normally see.
I wouldn't know.
I believe I might most likely met her.
I'm wondering if I should roll something to see if I'll make that association. What would be a roll for that?
Why not? It would be with something, so
Socialize. Maybe.
you could argue socialize or wits composure.
I can do either, yeah.
Or wits expression.
How expression?
I mean, wits empathy, sorry.
Oh. Well, let's do empathy. Well, it's the same roll anyway, so. What the hell? Let's see. Wow.
Yep, you get exactly what he was saying.
Oh, fuck. Shit. You will see that her demeanor changes like instantly. Like, uh,
Oh,
like there's a lot
relax.
of mistrust now in
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
Like,
No, relax. It was only a one night stand.
are you sure she didn't bug you? Or anything else?
I'm fairly sure she didn't um bug me. I didn't have exactly a lot of places she could put a bug.
Yeah, just,
And
I,
besides, I sweep this area regularly for that sort of stuff. If I had anything like that on me, I have discovered it by now.
well, she's very suspect in something that is very close to my heart, and if what I suspect is true, then I have to advise you to be extremely, extremely careful around her. Like,
I have not seen her in a couple of in over a week or two since this whole affair began.
well, yeah, because if what I suspect is true, she was busy with something else. And at this moment, you can see that she's visibly upset about something. But yeah,
Well, after learning what she did and her reaction, Perrin's not going to press this information as he knows that she's obviously distraught. Well, I will respect client confidentiality if you wish to reveal anything else. However, I will not press you. I will see that if I can get another sample of this medicine.
well, even if I wanted to disclose things, I really can't because I have not confirmed her involvement, and I can't just be spreading rumors without evidence.
I mean, if you have belief that she um, was involved in it, something, I can always see if I can suss out any information should she approach me again.
I don't think this is information that she would willingly disclose.
Gives a smile and says, she may not be willing, but you'd be surprised what people let slip when their guard is down, as it were.
I think you might be a bit overconfident, and that might put you in danger because you think that she's a very dangerous person.
I've grown up dealing with dangerous people. One more dangerous person isn't going to throw me for a loop.
If you saw what I have seen, you might think otherwise.
Well, I have not seen what you have seen, and I cannot know what you've seen.
This might not be what she appears to be, or 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 she's just facilitating things that are, I don't know.
Gives a small shrug at that and says, I kind of assessed that when I learned that she worked for Section 9. I mean, I'm running around with a man who apparently can split a person in two with a simple sword.
Well, yeah, but a sword is still mundane means. I'm talking about something beyond that.
Magic?
I I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that something big has happened and they suspect this is involved intimately. And I don't know if there's a way out of it. And if they're going after my family, there's no way out of it for me either. And it's just a fucked up situation all around.
Pauses for a sec. I don't know if I can hide them from MODOK, but should the situation get that desperate, and should you find a way to convince your family of the danger, I do know a couple of people who are, how do we say it in civilian terms? Yes, they're good at moving people from one place to another without raising any red flags, as it were.
That sounds like trafficking.
Trafficking is one term you could use, smuggling is another. Should you want your family to go into hiding, I know people that can hide them.
Well, we'll definitely keep that in mind. Just. I advise a lot of caution around here. It's. And see if you have any friends or close people to you, maybe check up on them. Because I don't think that it's a coincidence that all of my team has some connection now to MODOK.
He thinks about this for a second and goes, I will approach my associates and that are outside of the corporation and see if they've recently developed anything. However, well, I don't have any truly close associates. I do believe I have a way to get in contact with one of the executives to MODOK itself.
And what would you be getting out of that?
Right now, truly nothing. In the future, well, the future is yet to be determined. All I am saying is, should we decide that MODOK must be approached on these matters, gives a small shrug.
I just don't think that there's any benevolence in anything that either of them do. I can't see it. Maybe it's just the whole situation and how it turned out that affects my view on it. But I don't know. don't trust either of them.
Nods at this. I will keep you alert if I should find anything else suspicious amongst Sections 9's current activities.
I have a question that maybe if you see Mrs. X again, can you find out if maybe perhaps she spent any time down in LA during this time, past few weeks?
He'll nod at that. And I'll try to fish something out.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Man, that roll previously, that was a good fucking roll.
Yeah. And as he said, or I should say, I'll try to fish something out. He'll nod at that. As he does so, a thought will cross his mind. So, did you hear about the other hunter groups?
Yes, I have. Which is weird that there are so many and so suddenly.
I'm not sure that it's so suddenly. I believe this information was not exactly withheld, but not exactly. They did. Section 9 didn't see the point in passing this information along until it became relevant. And I'm guessing it's become relevant because they're aware that this information would get out eventually, especially given that apparently I'm their go-to individual for negotiations now.
So you're supposed to be negotiating for them with the other groups? Is that the thing?
At least with this, at least with this Ashwood Abbey.
Out of character, the Ashwood Abbey are the
The raunchy hedonists.
yeah, okay. Oh, I see. Um, are those other groups hindering what we're supposed to be doing?
No, but apparently, from the information I've gotten, they're concerned about the Abbey because long ago, the Abbey went on a bit of a killing spree. Back in 2020, there was if you're at all familiar with their history, there was a bit of a virus scare. The Abbey responded by believing, or the Abbey came to the conclusion that was through demonic influences, and apparently went on a bit of a killing spree trying to curb the virus by murdering anyone who might have had any form of demonic association.
But that was almost 60 years ago.
Yeah, and the Abbey hasn't really had much presence ever since, due to their fouled reputation.
Well, maybe they're rebranding.
Perhaps. That is what Mr. X seems to believe. However, if I'm to do this task of get a sample for you, I would in return like to ask you to see what information you can dig up on the Abbey through outside sources.
Alright,
I
let's
want to
do
know
that.
if Section 9's telling the truth about them.
Based on what I can find alone, you mean?
Yes. It's always good to have another source of information. And even if you can't find anything, any information proving Section 9 right or wrong, any little information you might find may help me at the negotiation table.
What I wonder is if there are all these hunter groups and Section 9 is a hunter organization, why haven't they tried to actually absorb them?
Different schools of thought.
Different goals, probably too.
Exactly. Section 9 claims, at the very least, to be a very... Or Section 9 claims at the very least to be government run. They do not seem to be very much in the field of experimentation or study of these creatures, but the simple security of the civilian populace and extermination. At least that's the impression I've gotten from my very limited interactions with them.
Well, I
This
can tell
may...
you one thing. When we were sent after this group of ghouls, we apprehended one of them, and now that ghoul is in their custody, as far as we know, of course. And when he was talking about it, Mr. X mentioned that he seemed to be recovering, but they had never tried this thing before. However, that was a pretty blatant lie. He was not telling the truth about this, I'm sure of it. Like, I don't know how, but I could tell that he wasn't telling the truth about it. They've never tried that. They have. They just don't want to. Like, okay, for all I know, and this might be some conspiracy bullshit, but how do we know that they are vampires themselves and just using us to get rid of their rivals?
There could be more than one explanation for that. Well, your explanation is distinctly possible. There is too many variables, too many unknowns to make a conclusion, such a conclusion. For all you know, they could have tried this before and simply failed, and not bothered telling you guys that they have done this before, because every other time has led to death.
I mean, they could have just told us that and it wouldn't make any difference. It's not information that they would benefit them to conceal, let's say. On the contrary, if that was the case, it would be in their best interest to tell us that it just doesn't work, so we wouldn't need to bother bringing more in. It just wouldn't be financially or in any other way convenient for them to have prisoners if there wasn't any chance for them to recover.
Gives a small shrug at that. Like, I don't know.
Well, in any case, I will see who I can find that can reliably test the serum, and I will arrange a meeting when that happens. And let's hope that we can at least find some answers.
Well, here's to hoping. And he'll slide over your tea.
What do I owe you for this?
On the house.
Thank you, Mr. Waldron, for your time and for the tea, and as always, confidentiality, right? And she will
Of course.
extend her hand to shake.
He'll shake it. I'll be seeing you around, Miss Fletcher.
Have a good one. And yeah, thanks again. I'll be off now.
Alright. And he'll escort you to the door.
Yeah. You can declare what you declare about your character before we end the session.
Not that much. He's just going to take the tea, use teacup, to the back, stick it in a small dishwasher, and then he'll write some notes down in a small journal, which he'll tuck away into a nice hidden spot in a safe under his desk, and go back to balancing the books.
Oof, notes, you say? Okay.
Notes.
Interesting shit. Well, thank you players for playing and watchers for